More Nigerians are hailing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the successes recorded by his administration in his first 100 days in office. Since the assumption of office on May 29th, Tinubu has not relented in ensuring that Nigeria's economy works. His recent trip to India for the G20 summit and the agreement reached in Abu Dhabi to boost Nigeria's aviation industry revenue. Joining us now to discuss President Tinubu's scorecard is Cairo Ojougboh, APC member and chieftain, former House of Rep, member and Director, General Coalition for Peace and Unity. Great to have you. First 100 days of President Tinubu, it's been mixed. Some successes, yes, as regards what happened in Dubai and the likes, and G20, and some pledge to Nigeria on investment and all of that. But subsidy gone, which a lot of people are now saying subsidy is back, because at $92 per barrel, the government is not telling us if we are paying subsidy or not, and there's a lot of hardship, inflation, Unilag students protesting, hiking school fees, killings everywhere, part of the country, a lot of insecurity, labor saying they want to go on strike because of the state of the economy. They say the government is not even talking to them at all. So it's been a mixed bag, a lot of pain, a lot of hope too. What say you?
Say that for me to assess the first 100 days of office of our president, the first, I might need to go the test book way. We need to compartmentalize the sections. Number one, what has he done to consolidate himself in power? Number two, what has he done with his administration? Number three, how has he been able to manage the other two arms of government? And number three, what are the consequences of his actions since coming to power? So let me start by the consolidation. You will agree with me that for us to talk about 100 days in office, he has to be in power. And the first thing and the most important thing he has done so far is to be able to defend his election, his victory at the elections. He was able to put together a very formidable legal team. He was able to present his case at the election petition tribunal. He was able to elicit what actually judgment should be from an election petition tribunal. Normally, out of a number of 5 judges, you have 1 or 2 saying no. And this time around, everybody concurred. And Nigerians were held spellbound for 12 and a half hours. I personally watched. And when I agreed was when the lead judge said, look, in the first 1.5 hours of his judgment, he said, look, I have finished with the technicalities. I would normally have ended this here. But for the sake of the fact that this is not the final court, the final arbiter, I will now go into the merit. And of course, it has never been so in the annals of history. So to me, for being able to defend his election, he has done very well. Rufai, all of you, I know you will agree with me that definitely that was a huge success. So let us go to what he has done with his administration. Number one, he's been able to put together a team to administer and run the executive. And he's a listening president. He's been able to think it, and he continues to build. And he goes the way that should be able to give the result of what he wants to attain for Nigerians according to his manifesto. Number one, to be able to put food on the table of Nigerians, put a roof over the head of the poor, and send the people to school. Make sure that the number of out-of-school children is reduced. Ensure that the scourge of yahoo ship and 419 in the South is addressed by providing jobs for people and reintegrating families. Just like you said, he inherited a bad situation in the area of security. And the only solution to taming these security issues is to educate the people and find jobs for the jobless. And here he has a Herculean task. How is he doing? Perfect. He's been able to restructure the security architecture. And it takes time to get a result. And he's moving in such a way that the result is coming as at when due. What has he been able to do in order to address the problems that led to the issues in Nigeria today. The foreign exchange issue you are talking about. He is able to work on the Central Bank of Nigeria to try and restructure the issues there, stop the double and the multiple exchange rate system. And that is bringing a consequence. That consequence is that the Naira continues to depreciate. And that is expected. And being expected does not mean that the hardship we are suffering today is going to be forever. No. As he's doing so, he is also repositioned what is causing the depreciation of the value of the Naira. One major factor that causes almost 20 to 30% of the issue of depreciation is the pressure the importation of PMS and the petroleum product brings to the value of Naira. As long as we are importing petroleum product, as long as we are not refining in Nigeria, it will be very difficult to address. I remember as the House Committee Chairman in 2003 to 2007, my committee sat down and reviewed the Petroleum Act, and we came up with the issue that for now, as at then, we gave the petroleum industry about 50 years. Today, the petroleum industry at best will run for the next 30 years. But it is not late. I was watching a program on television. I saw somebody who was giving a lecture in Singapore, how they import crude from Nigeria, refine it, and send it back to Nigeria. I almost wept. And this is what we said in 2003 to 2007. Okay. We must refine our own petroleum products. All right. We must, as a matter of fact, tackle it very, very seriously. It is very important. And let me tell you, we will continue to have problems until we refine all our crude. And it's very, very important. And it's not something we should joke with.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Ojougboh. As you've mentioned, since you stopped in the area of oil and just highlighted some of the president's achievements, one of which he said is winning his legitimacy to remain president in the court, in the Court of Appeal, the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal. Some people would say that it was under the APC government that the same INEC conducted an election that's been fraught with so many irregularities, complaints. We just had a discussion about that now. So perhaps that's an area that you'd want to look into, how we can conduct as a nation more credible elections. Now, going on to oil and fuel subsidy removal, which a number of people have praised that he bit the bullet. He did what was quite brave. But there's still questions around that. The big question is, has fuel subsidy really been removed? Because there are areas where we don't understand. When fuel subsidy was removed, since then, the global price of oil has gone up. The cost of refined petrol has gone up. The Naira has been devalued. Yet, by some, perhaps some leadership miracle, they've been able to maintain the price of oil despite saying that fuel subsidy has been removed. I want to understand, I don't know if you can explain that to us a bit more with regard to how are they able to manage this economics under this particular administration. And then again, the school, when would the student loan begin? Because as has been mentioned, parents are complaining. They're increasing fees in public institutions and parents cannot take on this burden following the palliatives to cushion the effect of the removal of fuel subsidy.
Thank you. Let me start with the first question, the issue of deficient elections. You see, we are growing as a nation. During the military, it is the government that had the power to disqualify candidates. So the politicians reacted. They said, no, you are partial. So please, give the power to disqualify candidates to the party. So today, that power resides in the party. So whenever a party says, this is my candidate, you don't have the powers to interfere in it. So the court has ruled. And it has been so. So what will now make us to have more credible election? The first thing under APC has been achieved. The issue of beavers. It has to be developed. in my state and in my polling booth where I voted, I tell you what, everything in my polling unit, 100%, there was no cheating. And I followed it up until it was uploaded on the IREV, and there were no changes. Why do I say this? We have already made the first step, the first giant step. So the country needs now, and especially INEC, to develop on it. But let me put this to you. The issue of beavers has nothing to do with a collation. The issue of beaver addresses the voting at the polling units so that you don't go there and inject fictitious numbers into the accreditation. And that is where the courts were very, very emphatic in their result, in their judgment. They said, look, if you said that your results were tampered with at the polling units, what was the initial figures that we arrived at? Mark you, our constitution and our collation today is manual. Because you go there and vote, at the end of the day, they take out the ballot papers, they count them, they place them manually, and then APC, this one, PDP, this, Labour Party, this, is all manual. Then after you finish, they will not take the beaver, they take photograph of what was manually recorded, and then send it to the INEC Rev. That one is just in the air. The real paperwork begins. It leaves the polling unit to the rec center, the collation center for the ward. Yeah. From the collation center for the ward to the local government center. From the local government center to the state center. From the state to Abuja in the presidential election. So for us, what can improve on it is if we are able to use the electronic system to man these processes and these junctures and these corners that it takes to arrive at a result. Well, but I can assure you that so far, so good. So far, so good. What happened in the last presidential election was, well, as far as I'm concerned, the beavers, in fact, as we personally from Delta State, the beavers opened up a lot of issues for us and so many others, so that at least we know where the human beings are, we know who are the people voting, and then today, the calculation and the planning is now different. So Doctor, I want to welcome and congratulate APC for being able to introduce that particular issue. My brother Abati, sorry, I hope I'm not taking too much of your time.
Okay, I mean, we've been talking about Nigeria, Tinubu, and all of that. Let's talk about your state, Delta State.
Yeah.
Now, what's your assessment of the government in that place, the APC, Ojougboh, I say Ojougboh, Oberewori, government in place in that state? And also, your issue with Ovie Omo Agege, has that been resolved, maybe at a personal level? And also the tribunal findings and rulings with regard to elections in Ughelli North, Ughelli South, Isoko federal constituency. Let's talk about your state.
Thank you very much, my very good friend Ruben. You know, the politics is politics, and it starts from home. Put it this way. There are two main factions of APC in Delta State. The two factions are in court to determine which faction is the authentic. Because my own faction, we are mainly the grassroots, and we are the ones loved by the people. The other group, they are the bourgeoisies, and then they fly up, and that is the way it is. But the issues, they say of course, the court awarded me 5 million naira against them for bringing any issue, and then barred them from harassing me any further. Because I'm a soldier of truth. If you take it to the Supreme Court, I'll still get judgment. And that is the issue. So as far as I'm concerned, I have no issue with Ovie Omo Agege. I wish him well. But when it comes to the governance of Delta State, I'm a stakeholder, so I can speak. So far, so good. I believe that the man there right now, I don't think I've ever even met him in my life. I believe that, well, from what I read, he's trying to find his feet, and it's too early to say anything. I'm still watching. When it comes to the issue of the elections and then what is happening at the tribunal, I have always believed in the rule of law. I have always known that whatever you do, the court is the only hope of the common man. And I respect whatever comes out of the court. And then because the matters are in court, I cannot speak for now. So I will wait until the judgments are. But the important thing in Delta is that I use this opportunity to appeal to the national. Because the earlier we rebuild the APC in Delta, the better for everybody. Because in the last 4 years, APC was not on ground, was flying in the air, and APC refused to perch or to land so that we can prosecute elections. We were not allowed, we were not given that opportunity. The only thing we were allowed to do was to make sure that we defended the presidential election. Otherwise, the result we got would have been worse. We ensured that the APC will not be disenfranchised, because the people in APC who are flying upstairs, they were only interested in their own personal results. But the grassroots of the APC, we said, no, we will work for Mr. President, and we did our best. And the 90,000 votes we got for Mr. President, I tell you, if not for our effort, at the risk of our life, maybe we would have gotten about 5,000 or 6,000 votes for anyway, that's a matter for another day. I have come here to discuss my president, but if as a politician, if you veer me off what I've come to discuss, I will oblige you, because I'm a soldier of truth. I don't need to prepare like you journalists do to be able to face an interview, because it's a practical thing. So I rest my case there when it comes to the issue of Delta. Well, so please allow me, if you don't mind. Okay, sorry.
No, go ahead. You wanted to say something.
Yes, I said allow me return to the issue of the petroleum subsidy and what the government is doing now, if actually now there's no more subsidy. You see, the petroleum industry is a very difficult industry. As the House Committee Chairman for Petroleum, we raised a lot of issues. The people came to meet me, they said, look, let me tell you, Dr. Cairo, you see this petroleum industry? He said, look, it swallows a lot of people. I said, well, I will do what I'm supposed to do. So we started, and then we worked very hard. It was because of our effort that the PIB was started. Because we passed the act in the House of Reps, but the Senate that year didn't concur. So they now moved it from review of the Petroleum Act to Petroleum Industries Bill. And the situation we're having today would have been long addressed if they took our advice. But it is not late. So the question now is there subsidy today? That I cannot answer. But if there is subsidy, the labor unions and everybody has said, look, enough is enough. Let there not be any further increase in the price of the pump price of petrol. That the suffering is much. But the president loves the people. So he must listen. He's a listening president.
On that note, Dr.
So
Ojougboh.
I'm not in his cabinet, I'm not in his government, but from looking in, from outside into the room, I know that the president is working very, very hard to see that these issues are addressed. And I trust that he will come out with a proper result.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Cairo Ojougboh, for joining us in the morning.